got you in my sight. I keep all the words you said to me. I get you on your knees. Rewrite all the things you said that I should be. I'll get you, now you'll beg me please. Hey.
Disclaimer, read all about it.
Hello fam, how's it going? Been a while. I decided after a few videos that I watched recently that I think that it's time to go over Michael Vaughan's case again because of Stacey Wondra, for one, getting out of federal prison for his probation violations, which I just learned that happened because of someone who actually came on the platform and admitted to helping do that. So I was like, well, let's just dive right in, shall we? And review this because it's a little concerning and I have questions. I have so many questions for a lot of people. Hi, everybody. Good to see you. OG, Grandma, G-Ma, good to see you. As always, Miss Ruba, good to see you. Am I sounding all right, guys? Besides the nasal issues, that's just part of me 90% of the year, so I apologize. Yesterday, my favorite chicken passed away in my arms. I'm so sorry. Yeah, that's horrible. I'm so sorry to hear that. All right, guys. Who else? We got Mr. Eve. He's actually cooking right now. So thank you for that. Can't wait for the spaghetti. Thank you for taking that on today. Jeep Girl, good to see you. It's been a while. Hope you're recovering well. I think I spoke to you yesterday, but it's been a while since you've been in here, so good to see you. Hermit the Frog as well. All right, good. I sound good. Perfect. All right. Yeah, you learn something new every day. That's for sure. And missing persons cases, you never know when it's going to show up and bite you. And so, my background here, I do have my camera on today, finally, right? Woo! So, first things first, where are we at in Michael Vaughan's case? We're going to do the tedious task of going through the basics of what has happened recently, just to get everybody up to speed, because it's very hard to keep up with Michael Vaughan's case, unlike with Sebastian Rogers, where there is a live every 5 minutes, right, about stuff that honestly I feel shouldn't be updated because it's not an update really. It's speculation, but I digress. He's getting coverage, which is great. And that's what matters. Yeah, lurkers be lurking. Go ahead and hit that like button. I worked really hard on revamping my channel again because the blue was depressing me. So I was like, you know what? Let's get the passion back with some red. So that's the theme now. True Crime with Eve is going red. Now, sometimes it could be ragey or passion or both. We'll see how it goes. It's been kind of a wild ride on YouTube for 3 years. So, anywho, yeah, free DNA on that like button. Might as well. So, we're going to go through that arduous task of, okay, basics, what's recent, where are we at, what's going on, how is the family reacting to that, if they are, is there anything that they've come out with recently, things like that. All right. As most of us know, if you're new here, I do have a playlist for Michael Vaughan. You can go and watch. I'll put the link in the description. But Michael Vaughan, who was 5 years old at the time, went missing near his home, allegedly around 6:40 to 7 p.m. on July 27, 2021. We do not know for sure who had seen him last, it has changed over time, depending on who you talk to. The police have not really given much of an update as to those details. They have been very tight lipped and keeping things close to the vest. However, I'm a nosy little beasting. And sometimes, when you're reviewing these cases and something doesn't add up, which could be very easily remedied, that's where I kind of come in and go, people are asking these questions. Police don't really, they're not giving any direction except for uh, one or two things. But they still have not found him. What are we missing? I have so many questions. So, where are we at with the who? You'll see on the screen who, when, where, how, why, and what. Well, just went over um, the what. He disappeared on July 27th, 2021. And the story is that mom was at work at Albertsons in a town next door, and the father was home with Michael's two older half siblings and his sister Buggy and Tyler Vaughan. Tyler Vaughan said that he went to change the diaper of the little one and ordered a pizza, went and smoked a cigarette in the garage. I think that has changed, either the backyard or the garage. Pretty sure it stayed the garage for a while. And then he noticed that Michael was not where he was supposed to be. He was on his switch. And then I think it was one time he was in the backyard. Irregardless, let's keep it simple. He didn't see Michael, so he went to ask the older brother, have you seen Michael? And then that's where it began, searching in the house for 15 minutes and then going outside to go to the splash pad, which is nearby. And then he calls 911. All right, getting that out of the way. It has been kind of a strange trip with this case because for a while, for the first 4 or 5 months, there really wasn't much to go on. There was a few press conferences and a few updates from police. There was a search in Weiser, Idaho, which is about, I think, 25, 30 minutes away in a treesy, remote area. I don't believe anything came of that. However, I do have an update on some of the details of that. Kind of, a little bit, sort of, a little. I noticed that after the excavation, which jumped forward a year and a few months in November of 2022, there was an excavation in the backyard of the home of 2 suspects out of the 4, Stacy and Sarah Wondra, because they interrogated Stacy Wondra and he allegedly false confessed, and said, you know what, fine, he's back in the backyard. They dug up and did not find his remains, but still believe that he is deceased and his remains were moved somewhere else. We don't know anything about the DNA details, but around that time in the excavation process, I acquired information about what was going on criminally, in the area. And it's very strange because anytime that you see something outside of the norm, when you're looking at crime rates and stuff, there was trips to weird different places that's outside the bounds of Payette County, which is where this case is being worked out of, Fruitland PD and the state police. So they went, after the excavation, they went to 2 places. And it was just a blank, it didn't give any details, just this is where we went. And part of me doesn't want to say it. So we'll just say, except for Weiser. Weiser, they definitely went back for some reason, maybe not to that search area, but in the area, all right? And they also went to Baker City. I don't know exactly where. So some of the things that I saw happening at the very beginning, or the very first 2 years, they're potentially revisiting things that they had maybe acquired or looked into in the past, which I thought was very interesting. So just keep that in mind when we're going through this live, because we might stumble upon something that makes sense that we didn't know before, but maybe we will soon. All right. So if there are no questions in chat, which I don't see. Hi, little Miss Sharon. Good to see you. How to take a break from Matthew's channel. Woo! And go live for once, right? No, but yeah, it's good to see you. And let's just jump into the very first thing. The most important thing, which is what's the most recent? What have we heard from police very recently? Not the suspects or a suspect. Where are we at? Okay. So, I like to just go old-fashioned. Yes, I have it saved and ready, but I'm just going to Google Michael Vaughan missing so that you can see. I'm not pulling anything over your eyes. All right. So I'm going to make sure that it is in the last month. Here we go. November 14th, 2024. There was a new flyer posted because they did a a new sketch, right, for him. Not a sketch, but a digital remastered his photo to see what he would look like at, I believe, 7 or 8 years old, which is how old he is today. 8 years old. He was 5 when he went missing, right? So they did put that out. I think I have the wrong website. Sorry, guys. It's Nick Mick. But Argus Observer did an article, and I have a lot of questions. Because it doesn't clear up the fact that we have any suspects anymore, except for there was one before this. But it kind of alludes to the fact that they still could be. We're not really sure yet, because they're just keeping it so tight-lipped. It's insane. So, by the way, this was updated on November 11th, 2024. The original investigators, the lead detectives, have actually been promoted to different positions, which is important because they have other responsibilities outside of focusing on Michael Vaughan in his case when leads arise and all that stuff. So they were promoted. And then there's 2 detectives that have been promoted into their position. But I do believe that the 2 that were on his case full time, right, are still working it together. So they actually have more people with eyes on this case. So this is Juanita. I think she goes by Keller now. And Ben Key was promoted. He is a sergeant. He was the one handling the drug dogs. I still believe he is. Fruitland PD got a new K9 unit, so that's great. A K9 program that was donated to them, so congratulations to them. So it says, during the Fruitland City Council meeting on October 21st, JD Huff presented new badges to Sergeant Ben Key and promoted Detective Juanita Keller to Sergeant. So great. That's it. Nothing about Michael yet. Let me go back to Argus. I didn't know he had tattoos. Hold up. JD. Dang. Was this new? My goodness. Oh yeah, paywall. Of course. Nice work. All right. I mean, I just didn't know that. Great. So what are they doing? Says Gma. Well, hold on. We're going to get there. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But from what I know recently and what I've heard from a creator that we're going to get into in just a minute, All right, we'll dive into it. All right, we'll just hang tight. Hang tight. So there is the age progression image that they put out in on the anniversary, 3-year anniversary. So there's that. I think that's the latest. It's July 29th. I think there was one in October, but I think it was about Stacy. So, all right. Age progression photo. We just showed that. On the day he disappeared, investigators said he was last seen between the hours of 6 and 7 near his home. They dwindled it down to 6:40 to 7, allegedly. Walking east in the area of Southwest 9th Street. He was wearing a blue Minecraft t-shirt and blue boxer-style shorts with flip-flops. That was at the very beginning. And the times changed from 6 to 7 to 6:15 and 7:15, and the areas changed as well. And I have a feeling it's because of the CCTV footage that they acquired, right? So narrowed it down to 6:40 to 7 p.m. And I don't believe they ever said walking east after that. Matter of fact, they said they don't have a direction of travel after the very first week. That never came back up again. So not only that, but the blue boxer style shorts with flip-flops changed. The actual boxer briefs he was wearing is black with lime green stitching and one of the Minecraft characters on it. So there's that. So on Michael's birthday, which is June 24th, Brandy Neal shared a message with Nick Mick. It's a very sad day for our family. Today should be spent with smiles, laughs, and joy, and yet we are with heavy hearts. This is his 3rd birthday that Michael hasn't been home. Today we are celebrating the day Michael brought joy and love into this world, so our family will have his favorite chocolate cake, and his baby sister is going to open his presents for him. We are very thankful for the community, law enforcement, and everyone's continued support for Michael and our family. Thank you. So it's very sad. It's very horrible. Fruitland Police Chief JD Huff recently told the newspaper the case is still active, and Payette County Prosecutor Mike Duke, who is my favorite, that's a joke, said he has put together a prosecution team which is preparing for the next steps. And that was July of 2024. All right. Now this came out. In the news release from Nick Mick, he states that the goal is to use every investigative tool available. We know that our images are an important tool in the search for missing children, and we hope this will help lead investigators to answer what happened to Michael, says Angeline Hartman, director of the communications for Nick Mick. We're thinking of Michael's family in the Fruitland community. No matter how much time passes, we won't stop searching. And of course, anyone with information on Michael or his disappearance, please contact Fruitland PD or Nick Mick. And if all else fails, your local PD, because they can relay the message. And here is that age progression photo. A lot of people have opinions on this, as do I, but we're going to keep it to ourselves today. I feel like I'll share it. I don't mind. I feel like he could definitely look like this. Absolutely. But I think it might be a little too age progressed. That's just me. But what do I know? Right? So, Stacy Wondra, Sarah Wondra, Adrian Lucien, and Brandon Shurtleff, the 4 suspects that were named in the December 2022 police conference. And we're going to review that video. I think it's very important. And we need to listen again to what JD Huff is saying without any of our bias glasses on. I really think that we should listen to that and just take it in for the moment when he answers questions from the journalists too. Miss Rubeck says, personally, that boy looks more like the older brother than that photo, I think. Right. A lot of people have said that too. I agree. So, yeah. So one of the things that I thought was interesting about the update in July was they mentioned Mike Duke, the prosecutor, mentioned that he is wanting to charge it. It's a very interesting choice of words. You're charging people for crimes, not objects. So charge it as I would assume an entirety. And maybe it's so complex, this case, that he has to wait for the right time to charge whomever it is. But he didn't mention any of the suspects. It was very vague. And I will tell you, no one is cleared until charges are brought forth. Okay? And they are prosecuted. That's it. Not a single soul has been or will be cleared. Even though I have proof that the babysitter of Michael Vaughan, who was looked at suspiciously amongst some creators, has not been looked at since the beginning of the case in 2021. And still, that's not clear, just because they say that has not been a suspect, right? Because she could be, but I don't think so. So yeah, it's just been very tight-lipped, and I think that was a weird way to go about saying that, but maybe there's a reason for it. All right, so Stacy Wondra and Sarah Wondra, who live on Red Wing Street in the subdivision across from Michael Vaughan's home. The excavation happens in November of 2022. How did we get there? What happened? Well, Stacy Wondra had been under the gun, literally, by the feds because he purchased a firearm illegally and obtained it because he's a felon and he's not supposed to have guns. It is Idaho. I'm sure plenty of felons have guns that they're not supposed to have. And not just Idaho, but Texas, everywhere. But he got caught, and he was under, the FBI's watch because of purchasing that firearm. And in May of 2022, he was arrested and charged locally in Payette, and then it was upgraded to federal. But he had become a suspect somehow, some way around that time, or maybe because of that situation. And the babysitter actually got an interesting call in July of 2022, before the excavation and before he was named a suspect, asking, why does he have a picture that you shared at the beginning, right, on his profile? A lot of people were doing that. Everybody was doing that. So I guess that was kind of a lead for them. I don't know. Maybe there's more. Like, for instance, they allegedly have camera footage of him at the corner of Arizona and Southwest 8th, which is the street exiting Michael's neighborhood. I believe it was 6:38, which is roughly around, 6:47, the time of his disappearance. But if they have him on camera, if they have the suspects on camera leaving that location, and yes, there's more details to this, but if they have him on camera, but don't have Michael on camera leaving with them, what made them decide that was enough to make them publicly known as suspects? I don't know. Very interesting. Maybe there's more to it. I have no idea. So we're going to listen to the December 1st, 2022 press conference where you see Chris Badunna, which is very interesting because he got involved in the case around the same time or right after the time that Stacy Wondra, who we had no idea about, was arrested under that federal gun charge. And so it's very interesting that he comes into play after that, the Cold Case Foundation. And I have questions. I have so many questions. Unfortunately, he is not able to answer anything because of his involvement in the case. But he did say, Chris Badunna himself said it was more complex than we know. He put a little community post out a few months back and said, then that's that. There's more to the story, which I believe it. Oh, I believe it. So we're going to look at that press conference. Why is it not wanting to show me? It's really not that hard. It just doesn't want to show me it. It's really hard to, and that's the thing. Sometimes it's very hard to look up anything Michael Vaughan related because of all of the new stuff, that's come out, unrelated to Michael, like anything, any news. And it kind of gets stifled down into the algorithm in Google and YouTube. It's really sad. Really, really sad. Hey, Jenny from the block, J Unit. All right, we're gonna watch the full update, and then we're gonna watch Sarah Wandra's. That's not the full
As you know,
one.
from the time Michael Whitman.
I think I have it in my downloads actually. No, I don't. I want a specific one. There's a reason why I'm looking for a specific one. Because there's a little bit more information that was said. Some of the other news stations cut it off a little early. This one didn't. So, and I don't want KTVB because I have a bone to pick with them. All right, that's Rosemary and Times. I don't want that one. Full conference. Boom. It is KTVB. Now, the sound sucks. I'm sorry. It is what it is, but we have to use this one. Just bear with me. All right. There is Chris McDonough right there. Hey, Matthew. What up, what up?
All right, good afternoon, everybody. I just wanted to start out by saying thank you to our media partners. Thanks for being here. And thank you for the continued coverage of the Michael Vaughan case. I also wanted to begin by just giving my sincere thanks to all the law enforcement agencies, local businesses, and members of the public who helped us over the course of the last year and a half of this intense investigation. More recently, during the last 3 weeks, we could not have completed the work necessary without the selfless help of others. The community support has been absolutely incredible. As you know, from the time Michael went missing, this has been an all-hands-on-deck investigation, and it remains very active and an ongoing investigation. You can't take one of our most precious citizens from us and ever expect us to stop. During the course of this investigation to date, we received credible information that the remains of Michael Vaughan could be found in the backyard at 1102 Red Wing Street in Fruitland. As a result, the Fruitland Police Department obtained a search warrant for the residence along with the front and backyards. That search warrant was served on November 11th. It was a Friday. We served that late in the evening.
All right. So how did we get there? Right there. What tip? Who did it? So, Stacy Wondra, the male who occupied 1102 Red Wing Street in Fruitland in the Hidden Meadow subdivision, he was in jail, like I said, or prison for the federal gun charge, and he had been questioned by investigators earlier, I believe it was May. No, I apologize. I'm so sorry. August of 2022. And I believe a polygraph was given to him in Meridian, and they said that he passed. It was by Idaho State Police. And he said that Brandon,
better late than
pregnant. Welcome to the evening crew, Matthew. And yes, better late than pregnant. So don't be knocking anybody up over there. You have enough. All right. So thank you for becoming a member, love. So he, I believe, took that polygraph in August of 2022. He passed, everybody passed, but still they were not convinced. I don't know if that's true or not. I'm just telling you what was said. So he is in, I believe, Ada County.
Better late than
Pregnant. Gma, thank you for becoming a member again. No, you have been a member for 33 months, the longest. Woohoo! You are the best. You deserve so much better than me. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being a member for 33 months. My God. Somebody needs to teach me how to be a better creator. Not only that, but a better creator for my mods. Thank you. All right. Let's continue.
Upon entry, officers encountered Sarah Wondra, one of the known occupants.
Oh, I forgot a big missing piece. Sorry. It's been a minute since I've been live. The biggest piece in this is that the reason for confessing to this false tip that he came on YouTube and said happened is because they interrogated him for 5 days straight, over and over, showing him different things. I am not going to get into detail of what I've been told about that because I don't think it's proper. I don't want information getting out there that shouldn't, right? But it is very interesting, the things that were shown and the things that were presented and how they were. And what little was shown and how quickly it was taken away to kind of get you, you know, that get you moment without really observing what they're trying to get you to admit to, right? But after 4 or 5 days of that, he I think considered to himself, fuck it, to get them out of my way and my face, I'm going to say that this is what happened. What do I think about that? I think that there's more to that than just what was said. I'm not sure yet, but it doesn't really matter what I think about it or what anybody thinks about it. That is what's being said, right? So that excavation did not return Michael's remains. That they said cadaver dogs hit on some remains, not his, because the dog can't tell whose remains they are, just that there were remains there. It could be anything. So what do you do from there? All right, well, you have a lot of questions like me. What did the dogs hit on? When did the dogs hit on? Because I've gotten, I believe everyone's kind of confused on when did they hit. Sometimes I think Stacy would say that they hit during the excavation, but then it was prior to the excavation. So we don't really know for sure. And I don't think that he would be able to prove that either way. But from my understanding, those dogs were only there because of the search warrant that they obtained, right? And we're not going to know exactly when that's sealed. I've already tried to get it. Your girl can't get it. But when was it? When did the dogs hit? Did they hit multiple times? We don't know. So let's just continue. I just wanted everybody to know that Stacy Wondra was the tip. Which kind of makes it sound like he called them and said, look, I got to confess something. That's not what I was told. And that's not what I remember him ever saying online when he was out speaking publicly. Never. I've always remembered him saying that it was because they had interrogated me to the point of no return, and that's when I said it. So I'm just relaying what was said. All right.
Of the home, and Sarah was subsequently arrested based on probable cause that she had knowledge of Michael's death and failed to report that death to law enforcement. The following day, the Fruitland Police Department, joined by the Idaho State Police, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, the Fruitland Fire Department, and the Fruitland Public Works Department, began a very methodical excavation of the backyard of the Wondra's home. During that excavation process, the Idaho Mountain Search and Rescue, Mountain States detection dogs deployed multiple certified human remains detection dogs on the property, all of them alerting to the presence of human remains. Ground penetrating radar was also used and deployed, detecting anomalies in the backyard. We completed the excavation of the entire backyard and removed over 250 yards of dirt. Prior to backfilling the yard, the dirt was meticulously sifted for any potential human remains. We did not find Michael's remains. Although the remains of Michael Vaughan were not recovered, we strongly believe, based on evidence, that Michael was abducted.
Michael was abducted. Strongly believe that Michael was abducted. Well, what's the definition of abduction in Idaho? What are the laws? We got to break it down this way. And the reason why is because it gets squirrely if you don't know what the language of the law is. So we're going to look up Idaho laws, abduction. How do they define it? Because other places, other states say that an abduction can be from only certain circumstances, only certain people, and then they divvy out parental abductions, and then they divvy out it even further. So what is Idaho? Idaho law defines kidnapping as the unlawful seizure or confinement of a person, or the taking of a child under 16 with the intent to hold them against their will. Kidnapping can be charged as either first or second degree depending on the circumstances. So right from the jump, it doesn't matter who it is. It's the unlawful seizure or confinement of a person or child under 16 with the intent to hold them against their will. Now, kidnapping is, a synonym for abduction. But when you think of abduction, you think predator, grab, go, harm them, right? Like those are the first things you think of when you think of an abduction. But not necessarily. Because it's the same thing. But it sounds a lot harsher, doesn't it? Kidnapping, you would think, oh, well, maybe the mom did it, or a dad kidnapped their child, or a disgruntled family member, something like that. All right, first degree kidnapping. This is punishable by death or life in prison. It can be charged if the kidnapping is committed for the purpose of obtaining money, property, SA, or committing an infamous crime against nature, which is probably just egregiousness, committing serious bodily injury, and committing lewd and lascivious acts on a child under 16. Second degree is punishable by 1 to 25 years, and it can be charged for any kidnapping that is not considered first degree. Okay, very interesting. So it doesn't matter who you are in relation to this child or a child. If you take them away from their area against their will, right, to hide them, conceal them, it's abduction, it's kidnapping, same thing. All right, good to know. Some states, like I said, divvy that up into different sections and categories. All right.
And is deceased, and that his remains were buried and later moved from the property. As of today, the whereabouts of his remains on the property, deceased, and that his remains were buried and later moved from the abducted, and is deceased, and that his remains were buried and later moved from the property.
He was abducted and is deceased. That's a very vague opening of what happened from the time of abduction and allegedly being deceased based on evidence. If they didn't find Michael in the yard, are they basing evidence of his death on dogs hitting the property? I mean, I could see that it has happened in cases in Idaho where that was evidence, uh, but it's not strong enough, right? That's not strong enough to say, in my opinion, and in the court of law, right, that that's a good enough prosecution to prosecute on charges, right? Because who? There's so many questions. There's reasonable doubt here. There's not enough. So it makes me question, well, why do you think that? And what evidence suggests that prior to the dogs hitting on remains? That can't be the only thing. What evidence is alluding to the fact that he is deceased? Right? What happened? Very interesting.
As of today, the whereabouts of his remains are unknown. However, the investigation is active, fluid, and ongoing.
And one more thing. When he said buried, moved, buried and then later moved. Let's listen to that one more
The
time.
investigation is active, fluid, and later moved from the property based on evidence that Michael was abducted and is deceased, and that his remains were buried and later moved from the property.
His remains were then buried and then removed. I have a really hard time. I'm struggling with the possibilities of how did that lead up to that point? What was the choice of burial there? When? What time? By whom? Right? Because police was in that neighborhood. Dogs were in that neighborhood that night and throughout weeks, and they didn't catch on to this. Why now? When did that burial take place? And when did the removal of Sweet Michael, allegedly, if he was there, when did that take place? It had to have been prior to 2020, the excavation, and they had to have let that ground look natural-ish, whoever did that. There's just too many things, too many questions for them to be so absolute. What evidence is there? I wonder. And it can't be pings, could it? Cell phone pings, device pings, I don't know.
As of today, the whereabouts of his remains are unknown. However, the investigation is active, fluid, and ongoing. Once the excavation was complete, we conducted a thorough search of the Wondra's residence. The search was productive, and additional investigative evidence was recovered and is currently being processed.
And we
Evidence
won't know what that
suggests
is.
that there are the following individuals who are currently in custody are involved in the abduction of Michael Vaughan. This is Sarah Wondra, 35 years old. Sarah lives at 1102 Red Wing Street in Fruitland and was living there at the time of Michael's disappearance. We believe that Sarah has firsthand knowledge and is involved in Michael's abduction. Sarah Wondra is currently...
She is involved and has firsthand knowledge. Well, why do they say that? You know, because she was sitting at her house calmly eating Cheerios or whatever it is that she was eating and watching TV and knock, knock, knock. This is the Fruitland Police Department. We have a warrant for your arrest. Well, there was a leaked probable cause that was sealed, the rest of it, but Idaho Statesman and a few other, I think KTVB, released the probable cause information because they got it before the judge could seal it. And she said some interesting things. Now, if you don't know, Sarah Wondra has struggled with mental health issues. You can see it on her TikTok. I've gone over those things before in the Michael Vaughan playlist. You can check it out for yourself. But just sum it up, there's been some trauma. And it changed this woman. And, she tried to, I guess, correct her history by being a good Christian person, taking everybody and anybody in, because everyone deserves a chance to be loved and taken care of, but it also bit her in the ass, in my opinion, because I feel like what JD Huff is about to say about other people being involved outside of these four are crucial in this. And so there's that. Now, what did she say? First of all, she said, God told me who did it. So that kind of tells you where her mindset is. I will say there was a welfare check done on her 2 days. 2 days prior to this probable cause or this excavation. 2 days. Of course, welfare checks, you're not going to get the nitty gritty of it, but basically that report said that she was struggling. She was outside for hours looking up at the stars, and collapsed from just staring up. She hadn't been taking her medication. She has, I believe she has, I'm not going to get into that, but she has mental health illnesses, and they're very severe, okay? They could be severe if you don't take your medication. And so somebody called on her just to check on her. 2 days after that, boom, here we go. She had been harassed in September of 2022 by, I have a very good suspicion of who it is. Very good suspicion. Somebody that used a Google number that's not traceable, that maybe was in contact with someone like an ex-husband who had her nude photos, perhaps, to then harass her with her own photos from a marriage that she may or may not have shared it with others before or after Stacey. It doesn't matter. But maybe, just maybe, creators need to stop it. And how do they know who the suspects are before the public does? Think about that shit. This is not good. I have questions. You should have questions. All right. So she was not mentally well. She failed her mental evaluation when she got arrested. After she got arrested, it's a mess. So what did the leak probable cause affidavit say? She said, let me pull up Idaho Statesman, because I like them the best. I really do. Look how simple this is. Simple news. You don't have a billion ads. You want some alerts? No thanks. I just want to read this. Thank you. Boom. So let's listen.
Woman charged with failure to report death tied to disappearance of Fruitland boy. Summarize with AI Summarizer. Save 4 minutes reading time. Police have arrested a woman suspected to be involved in the disappearance of a Fruitland boy and charged her with failure to report a death. Sarah Wondra, 35, of Fruitland, was arrested Friday after police served a search warrant at the Red Wing Street residence she shares with her husband, Stacey Wondra, according to a probable cause affidavit. The residence was the site of a weekend police search and excavation in connection with the disappearance of Michael Vaughan. Michael went missing from his front yard half a mile from the Wondra residence on July 27, 2021, when he was 5 years old. Police haven't said publicly what evidence they're looking for, but they brought cadaver dogs to search the yard. By Monday afternoon, officials had not said whether they found evidence or remains at the residence. Sarah Wondra was arraigned Monday afternoon. She told Judge Brian Lee she understood the allegations made against her but maintained that they're not correct. When Lee informed her of her rights, Wondra said, "I don't have any reason to be silent because I didn't do anything wrong." Wondra was charged with felony failure to
Now hold up. Back it up. So, again, police haven't said publicly what evidence they're looking for, but they brought cadaver dogs to search the yard. Now, remember, they got the front and backyard search warrants for both. I guess that's what you need. Instead of the whole property, you got to get front and back specifics, I mean, they said that they went through the house, so it's very interesting wording. We got search warrants for the front yard and the backyard. All right, interesting. Why the front yard? But Sarah Wondra was arraigned on Monday afternoon. She told... Oh, let me back up. I'm so sorry. Police haven't said publicly what evidence they're looking for, but they brought cadaver dogs to search the yard. By Monday afternoon, officials had not said whether they found evidence or remains at the residence. Sarah Wondra was arraigned Monday afternoon. She told Brian Lee she understood that the allegations made against her, but maintained that they're not correct. I believe she said, that's what they said, but it's not correct. So she's going to refute what they said she said. When Lee informed her of her rights, Wondra said, I don't have any reason to be silent because I didn't do anything wrong. She maintains this to this day with the message from her from Fayette County as of, what was it, a month and a half ago? Still says, nope. Don't know why they're saying these things about me. I'm innocent. I would report that immediately, no matter who it was, to me. So, okay, let's just keep going.
Report a death rather than a misdemeanor charge. The felony charge is triggered when a person's failure to report is based on their intent to conceal the manner of the death, according to Idaho law. It carries a possible prison sentence up to 10 years and a fine of up to $50,000. In an emailed statement, a spokesperson for Michael's family told the Idaho Statesman the family is asking for privacy and support. They are dealing with very difficult news that's ongoing and unfolding, Lana Westbrook said. Westbrook also noted that officials have instructed the public to avoid the investigation area and the family's home. Lee set Sarah Wondra's bond at $500,000. If she bonds out of jail, she will be required to wear a GPS monitoring device. Fruitland police obtained search warrant. According to court documents, police forced entry into the Wondra's home around 9:30 p.m. Friday, where they found Sarah Wondra in the living room. She was detained and read a copy of the search warrant. When I got to the portion that read murder, she said, "Did you just say murder multiple times?" a Fruitland police officer wrote in the affidavit. She also said,
I'm going to take over from here, AI. Thank you. So, at 9:30 Friday, they found Sarah Wondra in the living room. She was detained and read a copy of the search warrant. When I got to the portion that read murder, did you just say murder? Multiple times. A Fruitland police officer wrote in the affidavit. She also said, I have never murdered anyone. So could you imagine you're just watching Dateline or normal folks watching the local news, 9 o'clock, ready to wind down for the day, knock, knock, knock. We have a probable cause search warrant. We're going to read it, and here's the details. It's about a 5-year-old little boy, and they said something about murder. I would flip the hell out. I would be throwing some shit. Nuts. And then, put schizophrenia-like symptoms that she was suffering from on top of this during this point in time. You're going to say some weirdness. I'm just going to be real with you. And that's not going to look good in court if you don't have enough evidence. That cannot be, right? You need more. So, I've never murdered anyone. So, police believe, let's just sit on this for a minute. They believe he was murdered by someone or a group or multiples. And what does that mean? What is the definition of murder, or the different types of definitions of murder? Because it could range. And in Idaho, from the Koberger case, I should know this off the top of my head, but I'm going to go old school and Google Idaho laws on murder. It's important to know. All right, Idaho laws define murder as the intentional and unlawful killing of a human being. The degree of murder is determined by the circumstance of the crime, and the most common difference is premeditation. Very common. Death or life in prison for first degree, and at least 10 years for second. and up to life without the possibility of release. All right, breaking this down real fast. First-degree murder is the most serious charge and can be committed in the following circumstances. Unaliving a police officer, court officer, or a child under 12. And it doesn't say how, doesn't say motive. It just says that they were killed, right? So there's no manslaughter, right? From my opinion, from what I'm seeing. Killing a prisoner, guard, or a visitor, killing with premeditation, using poison or torture, in furtherance of another serious felony such as arson, rape, or robbery, in the attempt to escape from a correctional facility. All right, that's very specific. So let's look at the section code. Let's just go straight to legislation. All right. So it's breaking it down into homicide. Okay, chapter 40. Notice of intent to seek death penalty, which we know in the Kohberger case, right? They are definitely seeking the death penalty. And basically it's intent. Yep, intent. Which, in my opinion, whoever murdered them, which I do believe to be Kohberger, absolutely had intent. Abso-fucking-lutely. So that is judgment. We don't care about that right now. That's judgment. All right, sorry about that. Degrees of murder. All murder which is perpetrated by means of poison, lying in wait, or torture. When torture is inflicted with the intent to cause suffering. This is important to go through because, just hang tight, you'll see. When torture is inflicted with the intent to cause suffering, execute vengeance, extort something from the victim, or to satisfy sadistic inclination, or which is perpetrated by any kind of willful, deliberate, and premeditated killing is murder of the first degree. Any murder committed by a person under a sentence for murder of the first degree, including such persons on parole, shall also be murder in the first degree. Any murder committed in the perpetration of or attempt to perpetrate aggravated battery on a child under 12. Okay? Very important. Huge. Let me repeat that. Any murder committed in the perpetration of or an attempt to perpetrate aggravated battery on a child under 12 years of age, arson, rape, robbery, burglary, kidnapping, or mayhem, which mayhem is just being a hoodlum, I guess, I don't know, or an act of terrorism, defined in this section, Terroristic Control Act. That's a lot of stuff. What is terrorism? Involving dangerous acts to human life that are intended to intimidate, influence the policy of a government, or intimidation or coercion, or affect the conduct of a government by use of the weapons of mass destruction. So there's that. Civil disorder. So let's look at this. This is why we're drilling down on this, because how many suspects are there? 4, right? They believe at least, more than anyone, Sarah and Stacy have direct knowledge, okay? So, looking at that murder charge in the first degree, terrorism is part of that. The first one is civil disorder, means any public disturbance involving acts of violence by an assemblage of 2 or more persons, which acts cause an immediate danger of or result in damage or injury to the property or person of any other individual, child or not, right? Any individual could be any age. So could this be part of their theory on either them or others. But it's very interesting. Any public disturbance involving acts of violence. So what violence could they be speaking on if this is what it is against Michael? What made the perpetrators do that if that's the case? No idea. We won't know. It's very interesting. Okay. And it could be two people kidnapping a child, right? That's very obvious. But I mean, is there something else outside of that? Because obviously they can't charge them. They haven't charged them. They have to have more. Any murder committed by a person incarcerated. Oh yeah, we already said that. Any murder committed by a person while escaping or attempting to escape from a penal institution is a murder in the first degree. All other kinds of murder are of the second degree. So anything else, no matter what it is second degree. Very vague. Very, very vague. All right. So doesn't really clear up anything or help with speculating, but I mean, it actually makes it worse because you don't know where to go with that. But that's important to know, in my opinion. Do they have a reward? $50,000 plus. I think it was up to 70. But I don't know where that stands. I don't know. I guess it still stands. I haven't heard from police on that. Maybe that's a good question they should answer soon. I don't know.
I have never murdered anyone. Officials said Sarah Wondra maintained that she definitely did not kill that boy and said the Most High God already told me who did it. She reportedly told police, "Oh wow, the Most High God just told me that Stacy was the one who killed him and buried him in the yard of the neighbor's house." When asked later to show police where the boy was buried, according to the affidavit, she told police of a spot near the entry of her residence and said Stacy had buried him in the backyard by the shed. Police said by that point, they had begun hand digging a portion of the Wondra's yard based on information received from Stacy, who had not.
Say what? Say what? Now you have to understand that Chris McDonough was at the excavation. He was there during it. And Stacy Wondra said that he was on FaceTime. It's however they do it in prison, where, you know, they had a camera, I guess, on the phone, and they were speaking to each other. And he said, JD Huff and Chris McDonough, point to where he is, which was on the very back end of the house, on the opposite side of the patio in the backyard. I can pull that up for you, just to have a visual. And yes, the satellite has updated to show the excavation, but no grass. No grass. So there's the shed right here. Let me pull in a little bit. Zoom in. So if you're looking at the front of their house, and you go around, there's the shed, which is close to the front of the house where the fence line is, okay? So they started to hand dig, which blows my mind. It's so inappropriate to me. Hand dig near the entryway. Let's go back up here. Oh, wow, the Most High God just told me that Stacy was the one who killed him, and asked later to show police where the boy was buried. According to the affidavit, she told police of a spot near the entry of her residence and said Stacy had buried him in the backyard by the shed. Okay, so over this way. Stacy Wondra says, no. When they asked him, after being interrogated allegedly by him, it was near the back fence line across from the patio, which is right about here. If you're, let's just say the fence line doesn't exist, right here. So that's conflicting. What the hell? Did they not communicate about the details of this conspiracy? I don't know. Or they don't know. When asked, let me go back down. Police said by that point they had begun hand digging a portion of the Wondra's yard based on information received from Stacy, a la interrogation, who had not been arrested or charged. It wasn't clear when or why police had spoken with Stacy Wondra. Well, the allegation obviously is being interrogated for 4 or 5 days, however long, even passing a poly allegedly. Where he was so crucial. He was here at the splash pad at 1 or 3, and then he was at the corner of Southwest 8th in Arizona at this time. It was allegedly what they said, and there was something else that I'm not going to get into. I'm just not going to do it. Let's just say that it was something that JD Huff also said. I'm not going to get into this. It's evidentiary in nature, okay? But it's not what you think it is. So anyway, she said, God just told me Stacy was the one who did it, adding that she knew the body was in the neighbor's yard. Then now it's in the neighbor's yard. She just said Stacy did it, buried this child, this sweet boy, by the shed. Then she's saying, no, it's the neighbor's. Well, hold on, ma'am. What is it? Which one is it? This is serious business, right? That's what Stacy just told me, as Stacy's in federal prison or in jail, right? And then she says, God. God told me. So she's having a psychosis, obviously. There's something wrong here. She allegedly reiterated to police that she had nothing to do with Michael's disappearance. She said her husband buried Michael in the backyard by the shed, but wasn't the one who harmed him. She said instead that a man identified only as Adrian had been the one that had done it, and he was scared to tell anybody. So she is implicating Adrian Lucian. And we have yet to know any more details about that. So she just hung Adrian out to dry on this, right? And I think that that's why Stacy Wondra maybe thinks that he has something to do with it. He does not have trafficking charges, like human trafficking charges. He was told that, but that's not it. It's drug trafficking charges. So when he thought that it was child trafficking, he was like, oh, he had to have been the one. But with no actual alleged knowledge. We don't know that for sure. We just don't know. And I'm not going to accuse anybody of something. I'm going to allege that it is very highly suspicious on everybody's part that is involved in this case. But I'm not going to flat out say that they are guilty or not. All right. So, what next? So she gets her charges that she got in 2022. They were dropped. It was a dog bone incident where a man named Tanner comes over to the house. They get to a fight. This is right before Stacy gets arrested in May of 2022, April 13th. They fight. She throws a dog bone and says, "Get back or I'm going to get my gat." And she did. And she said, "Leave or else." And basically, to sum it up, she tried to hide the gun when Tanner called the cops. And she was arrested when they found the gun at her mom's house that she did, in fact, hide, which is what triggered, in my opinion, the federal gun charge of Stacy in May. Well, not to mention that he sold it to a gun store, which they put in the system, and that triggered it too. I'm just saying there was probably a domino effect, a collective issue there. But to our knowledge, it's not related to Michael Vaughan. None of those charges. So she is in Payette County right now for her local charges that they dropped in regards to the dog bone stuff. And they sentenced her in her federal, the federal case was dropped, but she had to spend some time in Payette County. and she's eligible for parole in February of 2026. She's going to be in there for a hot minute. All right. But never was charged for the failure to report a death. They charged her, but it was dropped, is what I meant to say, which is a big crime. The reason why they said, you know, we're going to drop this charge is because of a case law. I've gone over this in length. You can go watch it. But the case law that they used as to why they dropped this charge was a woman in Washington, who was from Washington, who had struggled with drugs and addiction for a very long time. Was trying to get sober, but she fell short. She went to a trap house, basically, where drug dealers were living, and she overdosed on their product. All right? This is the case law that they used for her to drop her charge. The drug dealers had members in the house, two women, who one of them was charged with that failure to report a death charge, but was also dropped because they didn't actually murder her. She died of an overdose of her own will. All right, she took the substances. Trigger warning, by the way, if you struggle with that, please step away. But they moved her body to Coeur d'Alene Lake, wrapped it up in a I believe a tarp in a, what was it, a shower curtain, and her body resurfaced after that. But they moved her there so that the police would not arrest the drug dealers for the drugs. So it wasn't technically a murder, but they hid evidence. So that law in itself, failure to report a death, is unconstitutional, and they dropped it. But for them to use that case law, it still to this day kind of boggles my mind. There are other case law that they could have used as reference, but they chose that one. And it kind of gives you an idea of maybe what's going on in the case, perhaps. Something happened, maybe potentially there are drugs involved in or around this case. I'm not saying directly or indirectly, but around the case. There's got to be a baseline there. Okay, especially with the people that are involved. So that was a very interesting thing to notice. So she has never been charged. She could be charged in the future, but I don't think it's going to bear any weight. I don't think that that's ever going to be a charge that they would actually use to prosecute her. Maybe. I could be wrong. But maybe it's just something to hold over her head, right? For a future issue. All right, let's continue with this.
Being held at the Payette County Jail for failing to report a death to law enforcement. This is Sarah's husband, Stacy Wondra, 30 years old, a male. Stacy was also living at 1102 Red Wing Street in Fruitland and was living there at the time of Michael's disappearance. We believe that Stacy has firsthand knowledge and is involved in the abduction of Michael Vaughan.
They said he was involved. Let's repeat that.
Abduction of Michael Vaughan.
I didn't go back far enough,
And
sorry.
is involved in the abduction of Michael Vaughan.
Involved. Meaning involved in the actual taking of him. How? What condition was Michael in when he abducted Michael? Was he alive? Was he not? What happened prior to that? Did anything happen prior to that? We don't know. Those are kind of the questions that I'm thinking of.
Stacy's currently being held in the Washington County Jail on unrelated charges. Now, the next individuals I'm going to introduce you to, let's go at the bottom there.
By the way, this is Prosecutor Mike Duke. That is the one that had enough of my shenanigans when calling for just, what you need, man. What do you need to get this case rolling? Our Is there anyone cleared? No one is cleared until this case goes to trial. All right. All right. I got it. I got you. I got you. I'm hearing you. So that's the one that said no one is clear until charges come. So.
This is Brandon Shirtliff, 30 years old, of Kuna, Idaho. Brandon was living with Sarah and Stacy Wondra at 1102 Red Wing Street at the time of Michael's disappearance, and we believe Brandon has firsthand knowledge of Michael's abduction. Brandon is currently believed to be in North Dakota. Adrian Lucien, 32-year-old male out of Toledo, Ohio. Adrian was staying with Sarah and Stacy Wondra at 1102 Red Wing Street at the time of Michael's disappearance, and we believe that Adrian has firsthand knowledge of Michael's abduction. Adrian is currently believed to be in Toledo, but floats between Ohio and California. I strongly encourage Shirtliff and Lucien to contact the Fruitland Police Department detectives as the window of time for talking and cooperation is coming to a close. This remains an active and ongoing investigation, with conversations taking place with the Payette County Prosecutor's Office about Michael's case and those individuals involved. We also believe that there are others associated with the Wondras, Shirtliff, and Lucien who may have knowledge of Michael's abduction.
Say that again.
With the Wondras, Shirtliff, and Lucien who may have knowledge of Michael's abduction, and I would strongly encourage them to come forward and speak with my detectives.
Yes, please.
Them to come forward and speak with my detectives.
Say it one more
We
time.
also believe that there are others associated with the Wondras, Shirtliff, and Lucien who may have knowledge of Michael's abduction, and I would strongly encourage them to come forward and speak with my detectives.
Well, damn, that's vague. But of course, they know who they are. If they are involved or have knowledge, they would know. Oh, shit. They're saying I need to come forward. So, okay. So the next logical step is, who was he talking about? What people? What groups of people? Well, okay, we know Tanner, the dog bone incident guy, was in April, but that's not really around July 2021. We don't know if he was there. Brandon Shirtliff says in an interview that JLR did in November, right before this press conference, there was a guy with a J name, which I have a feeling I might know who that is. Okay. Who else? Well, there's a few. Yep. There's a few. And there are reports out there that mention specifically a couple, another couple who just decided to fly in, or not fly in, but stay for a night and then go, never mind, after Michael's disappearance. Which I have a strong suspicion that maybe they need to come forward. I would suggest that. Maybe that's who they're talking to. I don't know. I'm not an investigator. But anyway, I think that for them to say people around these four suspects need to come through, they haven't found Michael, but they have evidence of some kind that we don't know about. There's somebody, I think, that they know exactly what happened. They just need the people that helped. They need the group to be charged. I feel like a group of folks who have knowledge need to be found. The story is not complete yet, or maybe it needs to be. I don't think it's just a one person out of the four. I just think that people know, and they need them to tell. They probably already have spoken to them already. And how frustrating is that when they can't get that one piece of the puzzle to finish this?
when we finally reach the conclusion of this investigation, and I can assure you that we will, all of those who have knowledge of Michael's disappearance and have failed to report or hindered our investigation will be pursued. There's a moment in time to do the right thing and bring your information forward and cooperate. And that moment in time is now.
Yeah.
To date, the Fruitland Police Department has received over 1,500 tips and leads, and we received many new leads since this phase of the investigation has began.
Oh, we know. And I know that. I don't know what they are, but I can see from the statistics of what crimes have happened or reported crimes have happened in the area and the activity going on in that county that there has definitely been tips and activity and search warrants upon search warrants upon search warrants. They are looking, I promise you. I have a feeling that JD Huff believes that the river is important. He said it before. If he could dam the Snake River, he would. I believe him when he says that, and I have a feeling. I understand that, why he says that. I think a lot of people would get it, right? So what is needed? What is this? Do they need to find Michael? Other than the obvious, of course they do. But why would they need to have his remains if they believe he's deceased? Why? Without a body charge, murder charges have been successfully prosecuted. What is it, though?
Continue to ask our community for support and patience as we continue to aggressively work this case. We also ask that the Vaughan family's privacy continue to be respected, and we'll continue to post updates as information can be shared. Tips can be sent to findmichael@fruitland.org or to Crime Stoppers at 343cops.com or the Fruitland Police Department at 208-452-3110. Tipsters can remain anonymous. So before I open it up for questions, I just want to make it clear that this is a very active and ongoing investigation. It's super important that we maintain the integrity of this investigation. So I'd ask you that you'd please tailor your questions accordingly. With that, I'll stand for a few questions. Alex?
So if Michael's remains are not found, will Sarah have to be released, or do you think that she will remain in jail once you locate the other people that you think are involved?
It is my belief that she will remain in custody. But again, we're in talks with the Fayette County prosecutor, and those talks are ongoing as far as charging.
And you can't speak to any additional evidence that was found in the house, like you said, you can't?
I cannot. Again, I just don't want to jeopardize the integrity of this investigation. Listen.
JD Wondra is listed as an inmate in Washington County Jail, but he's not on the Idaho court records because it's currently like federal hold. Are there any other charges aside from hers that have been filed in relation to this?
Not that I'm aware of. Not at this point. Go ahead.
What was different about the tip you received in this case after 1,500 tips over the last almost year and a half? What led to the arrest and the search? Can you share any more about what led you to that home?
I don't want to get into the details on that, but I can assure.
She asked, what was so different about this tip that came in? Because people were thinking somebody called in from the house and said, okay, I got to tell you something, da-da-da-da-da. That is not what happened. And the face, this face right here, knows damn well why that question is kind of ironic. That's what I think anyway. Oh, well, a few days of hard interrogations. That's what it was. Allegedly.
That the tip that we received was credible. I also released that in an earlier statement that it came from one of the occupants of the home, which led to that, yes.
I'm sure that you guys in your investigation are following social media pages, which a lot of us have looked at, and one of them indicates a trip out of state taken within the time frame. Without hampering the investigation, you guys are at least aware of that trip taken to get a dog? We are currently aware of a lot. Okay. And so I would tell you that you just need to trust us and trust in this investigation. We're making tremendous progress. We're comfortable with where and trust in this investigation. We're making tremendous progress.
I'm sorry, I gotta listen to that again.
You just need to trust
without hampering the investigation, are following social media pages, which a lot of us have looked at, and one of them indicates a trip out of state taken within
Oh, the trip to Texas
without
that Stacy and Sarah did to pick up the dog.
taken to the dog.
We are currently aware of a lot. And so I would tell you that you just need to trust us and trust in this investigation. We're making tremendous progress. We're comfortable with where we're at. I appreciate that question.
He was like, we know it all. We probably have I'm sure they have location data. I'm sure. So they're probably aware of everywhere they went at that time. Okay? And we only have a little bit of Stacy and Sarah's location data. You can go look at that video that I have. He gave me and another creator a recording, 2 recordings. I'm about to get a new one, another one, with more data that shows where at least he alleges to be. And it is irrefutable because of how it's backed up onto Google, and you can't change it, you can't edit it. No matter what you hear out there, you can't do it on this specific data unless you have the phones, which he does not. And nor does Sarah, because A, she's in jail. But the police have it. The police have that. And I don't know if they're going to release it or not. But as far as I know, no way to manipulate it because the devices are with police. And not only that, the iCloud data is not accessible. So
Sarah Wondra didn't pass her mental evaluation for when they were in the hearing and things. Do you think this affects the investigation at all, considering that to be the case?
I do not at this point.
Investigation at all, considering evaluation for when they were in the hearing and things. Do you think this affects the investigation at all, considering?
Sarah's mental
Not
health.
at this point.
It does not affect the investigation. Not at this point. Because he's not worried about the prosecution side just yet. He's getting the evidence for it. He's wanting to get all of the evidence for whomever or whatever the charges are and who they're for. So her mental evaluation means nothing to him. I get that.
Neighbor's yard, has that been searched in any way or taken into consideration in this investigation?
Yes, as a matter of fact, we'll be deploying ground penetrating radar in the neighbor's yard tomorrow. So we haven't done that yet, but we will. That's on the.
Yeah, and that's what she said. Sarah said, allegedly, that she said that Stacy buried him in the neighbor's yard, and it was Adrian, because Adrian was too scared to tell anybody. Well, why was he confident enough and not scared enough to tell you? Right? If he was too scared to tell anyone, meaning police, why would anybody cover for Adrian, who was coming to stay for a little while and leaving? That they did not know. They did not know him. Sarah wanted to help him, allegedly, okay, guys? Sarah wanted to allegedly help him stay and get back on his feet because Adrian was seeing his baby mama in Nampa and seeing his kid and needed some money before going back home to Cali or wherever he was going next. That's Sarah's reasoning for letting him stay, allegedly.
On the agenda for tomorrow, so thank you.
Aside from just living with the Wondras, do we know what the relationship with the two men you named were? How are they connected with the Wondras?
I'm not. This is ongoing. I'm not going to get into the semantics and dynamics of the.
He's not going to get into the semantics and dynamics of how the 4 are connected, right? Because I'm pretty sure he's asked that and got so many freaking different answers because no one's memory is the same as another's. It really doesn't matter, though. I mean, they know each other. They stayed together at the time of his disappearance. That's all that really needs to be known.
Relationship there. Alex?
A lot of neighbors spoke to us about a scooter that maybe you guys were looking for. Can you speak to anything about, like, you had found a scooter, if that was related, or if that's something that you were possibly looking for at the Wondras residence at all?
Again, that's evidentiary in nature, and I'm not going to speak to that at this point. So.
You mentioned the other property that's going to be starting to be searched tomorrow. Are there warrants for any other properties besides that?
So.
That you were possibly looking for at the Wondras?
I'm not. This is ongoing. I'm not going to get into the semantics and dynamics of
Hold
the
on.
relationship
This is
there.
important.
Alex?
A lot of neighbors spoke to us about a scooter that maybe you guys are looking for. Can you?
Okay, so she's talking about the scooter. This is important, crucial stuff. A scooter has been mentioned throughout this investigation prior to, like on social media, people talking what they heard, what they've overheard law enforcement say. So there's been a lot of talk about a scooter. I will tell you that there were allegedly kids on scooters at the splash pad, which Michael allegedly never made it to. But they were on Southwest 8th, the main road, to get to the subdivision, and there was a few kids riding scooters there, and a SUV was following them home. I think the mother of these kids, I don't know. That was mentioned, but and I'm probably going to get some shade for this, but there was mention of allegedly Michael being seen on a scooter by someone else, or that was people were commenting very, very, very early. I think that night or the next day, of a scooter, and that was the story, that he was on a scooter and then he vanished. It's been very shooed and looked at as it's not relevant. It doesn't matter. I can tell you, it kind of does, but not in the way that you think. And I don't want to speak on it because, first of all, I can't prove it. Second of all, I don't know if it's 100% fact. But from what I'm understanding, the scooter thing is kind of a problem. And I can't expound on that more.
Can you speak to anything about, like, you had found a scooter, if that was related, or if that's something that you were possibly looking for at the Wondra residence at all?
Again, that's evidentiary in nature, and I'm not going to speak to that at this point. So.
You mentioned the other property that's going to be starting to be searched tomorrow. Are there warrants for any other properties besides that have been sought out?
Not at this point, but through the course of this investigation, I believe that there are other locations that we will definitely be searching. So there is no warrant for the search that we're going to do tomorrow. It's all consensual. So I appreciate that.
Was the warrant that was executed in CUNA in recent weeks related to Brandon Shirtliff?
We did not have a warrant for any home in CUNA.
But was there a search related to his home?
Yes, there was.
You said that you believe that one of them is in North Dakota. You haven't located him yet. Is that what you're saying?
That's what I'm saying.
Okay. Do you mind spelling their last names for us? I'm sorry.
Sure, I can. You obviously have the Wandra's last name, correct? Okay. Last of Shirtliff is Shurtliff. Last of Lucien is Lucienne. Okay? All right. Well, if we don't have any other questions, I'm going to conclude this press conference. Karen, one more?
One more. If neither of these individuals do come forward with information, could they face any charges related to tampering an investigation or anything like that?
I would tell you that, I'm not going to discuss our investigative strategies at this point.
Ouch!
But it is my belief that charges are forthcoming. Discuss our
Individuals do come forward with information, could they face any charges related to tampering an investigation or anything like that?
Let me just back it up a little bit. He was like, damn it, one more question. All right.
Well, if we don't have any other questions, I'm going to conclude this press conference. Karen, one more?
One more. If neither of these individuals do come forward with information, could they face any charges related?
Okay, so if none of them come forward with any other information, could they face criminal charges for hindering or tampering with this investigation? That was the question. Very unlikely, right? You would have to do something, not nothing, right? Or prove that the crime was committed by said persons to then get a hindrance or tampering with evidence. Like, you'd have to do something. But if you don't say anything that's invoking your Fifth Amendment privileges, I plead the fifth. 1, 2, 3, 4, fifth, right? So that's a very odd question. If you just think about it logically for a second, they come forward and either admit to it or they stay silent because there's nothing to admit to. You have to do something to get a hindrance charge. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
Tampering an investigation or anything like that?
I would tell you that, I'm not going to discuss our investigative strategies at this point.
I'm not going to explain my investigative strategies. Out of that question, That makes my brain want to fall out of my skull. And the reason why is because, like, it's a simple, kind of silly question, but he's aggravated. Like, I'm not going to tell you my investigative strategy, so you don't have to. She wasn't asking that. She just wanted to know what could they face charges if they don't do anything. And so the contentiousness on this question gives me pause. I don't know. It's just weird.
But it is my belief that charges are forthcoming. So.
Just one last question. I know you're very proud of your team. That's really done an amazing job so far. Can you talk more about that and about how they're doing?
You know,
It's got to be tough.
it is tough. You know, we've lived this case from the time that it began, and but I'm telling you, I've got a very strong, committed group of people here, and they come in here every day, and we're in this grind, and they are committed to finding Michael, and we're just not going to stop. Everybody should know that. We are not going to stop until we uncover the truth in its entirety, I would say. So, thank you. All right. Thank you, everybody.
So, all right, there's that. I don't know why the others stood there and didn't say anything. Maybe they thought there was going to be a question for them. I would have had a billion. But, so where are we at now? Okay, no charges have been brought forth on anyone in relation to Michael Vaughan. However, there have been things that have been happening behind the scenes, especially after Stacy got out of federal prison. He did go back for 2 probation violations, and recently came to my attention that a creator interviewed an old roommate, a short-term roommate, that turned into the reason why he went back to prison, along with his own actions. I'm not saying Stacy Wondra is not held accountable for his probation violations. Those are his fault. But let's just get into that video. This is where it's going to get juicy for the last time here. There is a creator called, I can never remember this creator's name, PNW Crime Revisited? Missing PNW Crimes Revisited. I want to give them the credit because this is their video. It's for fair use. It's to cover what has been said by Kelly Miller, who took in Stacy Wondra via Craigslist ad when he got out of federal prison. He was actually doing an interview with creators, YouTube creators, during the time that she found out that he was a suspect in Michael's case and lost her mind. But to give you the summary, this woman was reached out to by a creator or creators to collab on recording Stacy Wondra so that she could send it to them and police to catch him, to get the gator somehow, some way, to entrap maybe a confession or allude to something in relation to Michael Vaughan. I want to tell you right now that I have covered many, many, many times on this platform that this is to be expected. I'm expecting this to happen one day where somebody gets involved in the way they shouldn't. And it's here. It's happened. I just didn't know that it happened when it happened. But I want to say that I would never want anybody, any creator, to do this to anybody else, no matter what or how deeply you feel they're guilty. This is horrible. I think that it's disgusting. It could get you in harm's way. I don't know what they were thinking. And this creator, this set of creators have been a pain in my fucking ass personally, but they've also been horrible on other cases as well. Horrible. You're gonna see what I'm about to say. So let's just get into it. Again, missing PNW crimes revisited. They're about to go live at, I'm assuming, 8 o'clock tonight to expose recordings of Stacey Wondra. Because putting it on YouTube, even if sending it to law enforcement, is the way to go in an active investigation. Take it from someone who knows the backlash of releasing recordings that I didn't even record. But it's okay, right? Because it's Stacey Wondra. No one cares. Everyone thinks he's a, quote, fat piece of shit slob. So it's okay because he's a suspect that hasn't been charged yet. It's okay to do this to him because of that. Now I understand how Katie Proudfoot and Chris Proudfoot, albeit suspicious, in my opinion, they are all suspicious, Seth Rogers included, it doesn't matter. I think Stacey Wondra understands how they feel with the attacks, right? Losing jobs, losing homes, losing any chance of a livelihood. When did it become okay to do it just because? Just because. When I released the words that were spoken about crucial information, right? Not crucial information that would hinder an investigation, in my opinion, but things that are important. Things that are important for the public to know what not to do. Stop searching for the, Honda Pilot. Because it was already looked into and they already have an idea who it is. Things like that. This is just fucked up, in my opinion. I've already said my graces on what I've done in the past with recordings and things. I haven't done it, won't do it, think it's wrong. We shouldn't be meddling in stuff like that. But this is another level. And they said I was bad. Damn, this is horrible. It's about to get real juicy. Okay. So the title is Hot Mess, Stacey Wondra's Ex-Roommate, backed by popular demand. Woo! This is the same creator who also wanted to do you know the case of Michael Vaughan trivia night? And when I was befriending the jerks and jerk associates, when we saw this, we were like, holy shit, this is horrible, and went into that chat with a vengeance, right? Because it's wrong. You don't make a trivia night and then also saying, join our membership over a missing child's case who is allegedly deceased. Horrible. All right, let's get into it. So, this person, Kelly Miller, is the one that took in Stacey through the Craigslist ad, all right, that he responded to. So we're going to skip into when she comes on. She also was one of the, I believe, searchers at the either first or second day, and she was also in the biker thing that they had on August 4th, or maybe the next day after, but a group of bikers from the Treasure Valley Long Riders in Fruitland or Payette, they all came by and, honked their horns and whatever to show their support. And they also did fundraisers and all of those things. So allegedly she was part of that group too. So it's very ironic that now she's helping creators get info from Stacey by recording him. It's just fucked up. It's just fucked up.
Coming back and joining us to, answer some questions in the chat and just,
Yeah. Well, first off, I cannot talk. If I can't talk about something, it's because LE has it, law enforcement. So because there was credible information, and there were other people that came forward. So yeah. If I
totally understandable. We don't want you giving out any kind of information that can hinder Michael's case.
Right. Sorry, I'm putting all my Michael stuff away. So I was it's Sunday, so I was out hanging flyers and put one.
Now, I don't slight her for wanting to help. I don't slight her for wanting to help if she's being fed the bullshit that I think she's being fed by said people. Because I know some things, and I would want to help too, but this is dangerous. This is absolutely dangerous. And you want to talk about tampering. You want to talk about hindering an investigation. All right?
Went on Tina's mailbox. It came back 2 hours later and it was already gone.
Yep.
Yep. She
You
does
were
not like
out there
Michael's flyers.
being a busy bee today with your flyers.
Oh, I was. Oh.
So they're going, she in particular is going to Tina's house or her mailbox and placing the flyer there to, I guess, elicit some kind of confession for her son, Brandon Shurtleff. Okay.
Yeah, I had to get a new yard sign made. Nampa Police Department allowed me to hang one there, and I also let them know that Stacy is in the area and what is going on. So I do believe that Nampa PD and Fruitland will be watching tonight. So yay!
Well, let's hope.
They had no idea. They had no earthly idea.
So that'd be cool. I mean, I know they watch pretty much anything that goes on the YouTube channel when suspects and stuff are talking. So, yeah, tell us. It was kind of interesting to find out that you told me today, actually, that you had to replace the sign up in your yard. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, the signs that I have all over my truck, we had a really bad freeze last night and they were laying on the ground, you know, the tape it all just came unstuck. But the yard sign, it is coincidence.
It was Stacy in Boise.
Yeah.
Okay, I got the message that I was trying to find. Okay, sorry. Let's get back to it. Yeah, I mean, when I put questions and stuff in order, some of it is, you know, from the very beginning, and then some of it's not.
It was the day after. Now, I hadn't heard about Michael yet. A friend of mine from Idaho City calls me up and he says, "Hey, there's a little boy missing in Fruitland. Do you want to go search for him?" I said, "Absolutely." So he drove down. The crew picked me up. We went down there and we were there all day. And it was not cool outside. There must have been at least 80 bikers. And there was, I would say, a good 300 people from all over the valley, you know, trying to help, looking garbage cans under vehicles, knocking on doors saying, "Hey, can we look in your backyard?" So it was a huge gathering, and it showed that Idaho knows how to come together.
Right, and they really did come together for Michael, that's for sure.
Yeah, and I didn't hear of anything the next few days or the next few months. You know, I knew Michael hadn't been found. I did know that, and it was an old gun charge. But I'm not pizza and his sub, and ended up having ravioli. And
he just got out of jail or prison or whatever. What did he tell you that he was in there for?
He said that he was helping a friend out and he was pawning a gun for them, and he got in trouble because he was a drug felon from Montana. And that I understood, and I thought, okay, the guy was trying to help somebody. I'm stupid.
So he said that this is going back to the federal gun charge of Stacy Wondra. I know I'm skipping ahead, but there's a lot. It's just a 2.5 hour live, and I don't want to go through all of the mundane small talk. She was asked, what did he tell you about the gun charge that he got out of prison for? And he said, "I was trying to help a friend out and pawn this and hold this gun, and then never got it, never wanted it back, so I pawned it. I didn't need it, didn't care for it." I mean, it is kind of a shitty rifle, but so of course my mind's like, whose gun are you holding for, and blah blah blah. It doesn't really matter. I do know, but it doesn't matter. Like, they would have probably figured it out who owned it. And not only that, it doesn't make any sense from the probable cause affidavit. But anyway, the report for the arrest. So, okay, fine. He wasn't really necessarily lying, but we can't prove it otherwise. The fact of the matter is that he was out and served his time for that. They're going to spin this later on into something it isn't, but I just wanted to make that clear that there's nothing.
And I'll admit I was desperate for a roommate, for someone to help me pay half the rent. So
Sammy
sorry.
here is saying, Stinky Stacy, that's how he got in a
Hey,
fight in
Chris.
jail
Lovely.
and kicked out of a hotel. Oh my gosh, I remember that. He had this conversation with Brooks about how he got kicked out of there because he was, such a mess inside that
Yup.
hotel room and he stinks so bad, and that woman.
Okay. Everybody probably already knows about Brooks from Crime Lines and Lies, who I think is beyond worse than any other creator I've seen in a while. Dragging Brandy Neal into drama that shouldn't be there because of her mods. Ugh. Befriending Stacy and recording him and trying to manipulate him in a way that is it's just fucked up. Trying to spin things that he said. I think it's a garbage creator. And these people are all rallying behind her. So creator number one that's behind this shit, that's trying to work with this lady, Kelly, to catch Stacy. And if they do, great. If he says something incriminating, that's his own damn fault. That's his own problem. But isn't that a little dangerous for you to be doing? And why would a creator need that? Why isn't the police doing this? Why wouldn't you go to the police first and ask them, hey, these people are asking me to do these things, and I think that I just want to make sure that you know, because I asked. And the detective was like, who? Who? To all the names I dropped. Who? So is this for content? Or is this really to help? And you're using this poor lady. He does have a heart, you can tell. And manipulating this. It's disgusting.
And the hotel didn't want him there anymore or nothing. And you're
She
telling
goes,
him that
"You
he
stinky,
stinks and
stinky."
stuff. Yeah. You're saying that you're telling him he stinks and stuff on the way home, but then you also said even though you guys got back to the house and stuff, he never took a shower.
No, not for the whole 5 days he was here. Now, I had to have surgery a few days later, and on the way to surgery, I was driving, and Stacy said he was gonna sit there with my vehicle and my service dog, and I said, "If you have to, but I don't think you will have to, you can run back to the house because it's just right up here. You can run back to the house and check on my boys. They're in the kennel." And my surgery was only an hour and a half, and it took him in between an hour and 2 hours to get there to pick me up. We kept waiting. I had my oil changed. So there's no way they came out. I had already been through the car wash at least once a week I go.
And
So
you're
I don't
saying
know.
he took your truck without your permission.
Yes, and he went to the Fred Meyer's in Caldwell and got gas with gift cards.
I don't know anything about that. I don't know. Is there a Fred Meyer in Caldwell? I thought that was Nampa. I don't know. I'm not from the area, but I was told that can't be. Other people who watched it separate from me. So I don't know what she's saying.
Or money, but I still don't know how he got the money for the windshield wipers. He said he put $40 in, but
why does it matter where he got the money from unless he's stealing it from you? I could understand that being a problem, but why does it matter?
But the needle hadn't moved. I was like just barely above full.
So he pretty much stole your truck.
There is no Fred Meyer's in Caldwell. I mean, not that it matters, right? Thank you, Ms. Ruba, but why are you pulling for little things to be big? It's silly.
Office,
Stop it.
trying to get a hold of him and waiting for him to come back?
When they took me back into surgery, he came back with me, and then for the so they could get me all set up with the IVs and the sexy hairnet and everything. He was back in there with me. We had Maya, my service dog, with me, and my keys, my purse, and everything was in a plastic bag on the bed. And then they took me back into surgery, and I figured he was just going to wait there because it was only going to be an hour and a half. And I said, if you need my truck to go to, if I'm in there extra long, you can go back and check on the boys in the kennel. And he said, okay. I didn't tell him to go 2 towns over to Caldwell and then go to the car wash and wait
here. So there are a lot of people out there that are super curious
I don't really
about
care about
Marissa,
that.
who she is, where she lived, and
Yeah.
everything. So a lot of people. So she goes by Zoe West. Her name is Marissa.
So there's a girl named Marissa that I guess it's a girlfriend or a friend rather of Stacy's that he went and saw before, right around the time of Michael's disappearance somewhere, and they're going to get into some information about his cell phone maybe being left accidentally there. I don't know anything about that. Don't really give a shit. It is interesting to know about, so I can't speak on it. But they're about to get into the girl that he brought with him to stay at her house, Kelly's house.
Nobody's really been able to find out who her last name is.
Nope.
And she's a woman that had some property over in Oregon, and I believe that was in Christmas Valley, and she's married to a man named Bruce Quaid. And so she's the one that comes over to the house. Stacy asked for permission, and this is the day after he moves in. And yeah, can you tell us a little bit about what you know about the property and yeah, like
Conversation. Yep. So
well, yeah,
after
and
she was
just
gone. Oh, go ahead.
and I was just going to say, tell us more about the property and what you know about Stacy visiting the property and stuff, and when
Yep.
he did that.
So when they were here, when she was here, she
I
was
think this is true.
for
I
one,
remember this
she
conversation.
was running around in stretch pants and a tutu and a glittery top, and she's a very nice girl, and she can be intelligent, but she's a
Different.
little bit slow, a little
Different.
immature,
Yeah.
let's just say. Um,
I don't know
we got
her,
to talking,
or I've never
and
talked
she
to
was
her. But
talking about I didn't ask how they met. Stacey had said that they've been friends for a couple of years. It wasn't until after. All right, so on the 21st, I'm bringing in my late trash cans and stuff, and my neighbor says to me, Kelly, I recognize that guy that's staying with you. He's one of the suspects in the Michael Vaughan case. And I was like, Michael Vaughan? I hadn't heard that name in almost 2 years.
So her neighbor comes out as she's going to the mailbox and says, he's doing an interview right now. That's a suspect in the Michael Vaughan case. And I guess that's how she found out about that. And during that interview, I don't remember who it was with. I have no idea. Could have been me. I don't remember. She barges in and was like, I guess she kind of motioned at him. I don't know.
I came inside, Marissa was cooking, and I said, what's he doing in the bedroom? He's in there talking. He goes, he's talking about the case. I said, what case? She says, the Michael Vaughan case. He's doing an interview. And that set me off. I knew my neighbor was telling the truth and not just, oh, he looks like somebody. I made him come. I started screaming and yelling. And if Stacy ever comes on here, he'll tell you I was pissed. He came out and I said, is this you? And I'm showing him her phone. He says, yeah. I said, why didn't you tell me who you were? I said, are you stupid? They've been looking for this boy for 1.5 years. I said, why would you not tell me this? Well, I thought you knew. He had been here 5 days. I mean, I have DVDs that I watch. And at the time I was using the Airbnb internet next door for my PlayStation to use Netflix, and
Damn.
well, that night I couldn't throw her out being as sick as she was, because she's got her port and she was going to do some kind of dialysis or chemo.
To know, how did you not?
Well, that night I couldn't throw her out being as sick as she was, because she's got her port and she was going to do some kind of dialysis or chemo or something the next day. So my bedroom door is directly across from where Stacy's is. So I slept the entire night with my bedroom door wide open, pew pew loaded, other pew pew loaded, and he sends me
I
a
can
text
understand
message.
that.
I should
I
probably
understand.
pack my shit, huh? And I yelled in there, you're damn right. And
Right.
I'm making light of it.
Right,
Next-
because there was a lot of people asking
Right, Chris.
questions, just wanting to know, how did you not know that was Stacy when you showed up in Boise at the shelter and saw him and met him, that he was one of these suspects? But in reality, what was going on is you weren't on social media, you weren't watching regular television, none of that. So you had no clue that they even had suspects in this case.
I'm
So
gonna
She
tell you
got her
something,
folder.
Sammy. Okay, so I had more flyers printed up today. I passed out over 100 flyers and I hung flyers everywhere. And on these flyers, it has Stacy's photo.
right.
One person out of everywhere
days
that I
ago,
went
Chris.
today, and all the flyers that I passed out and taped in buildings and this and that, only one person said, oh, I heard about this guy, pointing to fat ass. One person out of the 200 people that I encountered today, only one person knew who he was.
Yeah,
But
when I first got asked to go for Michael Vaughn's family and, do what you can to help, that shows the suspects and everything, shows Mike.
one person said, yes, I'm going to tell you that part right now.
Yeah,
So
it and paste it and go to it later or click on it now, whatever it is that you want to do. We're just trying to help the family. And so, yeah, about Marissa. So
well,
Marissa lives in Oregon in Christmas Valley,
okay, yeah,
and a week after
a few days
Michael,
after, yes, I'm going to tell you that part right now.
Yeah, you're
Yeah.
welcome, by the way, it sucks because the information I got about that, and now they're using it to catch, the suspect in a crime, an alleged crime that they committed, right? Because the police said that they have knowledge or they're involved to the world with no charges being placed since November of 2022 when they came out with this. Could you imagine, just for a second here, being either involved around these people or themselves and being innocent, perhaps? Could you imagine being them? Because these people right here are turning into little terrorists. And it's alarming because if they are guilty or involved and they need to be charged, do you not think that this is going to somehow hinder some of that? And on the other hand, do you think that the civil liberties are being violated if they're in fact innocent or not? Do you think that there are not repercussions just because it's Idaho and they kind of strong arm their way through everything in everyone's life, right? No, there's something called the ACLU. There's a commission for ethics. This could be a problem, okay? And this is just not how things should be done. I'm sorry, it just shouldn't.
a few days after I threw Stacy and Marissa out, she called me up apologizing and blah blah blah. And I started asking her. I said, "How did you meet him? How did you get mixed up with this guy?" She says, "Well, in
Bye, Gemma.
2001, a couple of years ago, I called some friends of mine that live in Fruitland, and because I had to move from a 5-acre property to a 40-acre property because I rescue dogs and I have almost 40 dogs." I said, "All right." And they brought this guy Stacy to help, help. And we've been friends ever since. That was 1 week to the day. It was 7 days. It was the 28th of July that he was out on her property.
Yeah, I heard that similar story too and went, oh, okay. Because you would think the police would follow up with her and follow up with the details surrounding that. You would think that they could take care of that. Right? Right.
Helping move
Well, it was a
refrigerators.
week after he came up missing. It was like uh a little bit after, like
Yeah.
within the first week of August or whatever, because on Sleuth and Show, a long while back, she was actually going through some pictures from Stacy's phone and slowed down one of these videos. And
Yeah, that she got from me originally and then conned uh it's just such a mess. I got a new recording from Stacy that has a little bit more in-depth information. And the lies that were told on that shit, like, I'm still peeved about it because it was spun into something it wasn't. Now, if in fact Stacy went on the 28th to this place, cool. Let law enforcement know and shut the fuck up about it so that they can do their investigation.
it showed, him traveling over to Oregon and everything else. And I'm pretty sure law enforcement went and talked to Marissa about a phone that she had of Stacy's.
Yes. She had several phones of Stacy's. One he left there on accident the day of that move. And she called Fruitland and it took them hours apparently to get there. She turned it in. There was a lot on it and Stacy never got that phone back. And
Oh,
then
from what I
Great.
understood,
See, there you go.
she gave well, I'm not sure about the phone. I just know they talked to her about the phone. I'm not sure any other um,
Right. I don't know
stuff
how they
about
got
it,
it or if they
but I
did.
do know that dogs had went out there.
Where is
Supposedly dogs have
Christmas
like went out to that property and stuff too.
City or
So
whatever
many
they
people were
said?
really interested about this because,
I'm not
just a week.
sure of any of that information. I mean, I can only go by that would be
Yeah, I know
hearsay
you
if I
can't.
said
It's just
anything. Yeah.
yeah, it's just information that I know of the case and stuff. But
Right.
and then of course, Crime Slew then showed that timeline and showed that he was out of the house and over there in Oregon. So I
Yep.
was just connecting the dots and stuff. So yeah, law enforcement. We're talking a big piece of property. She's living over here on this property. She is not got electricity. She's living in a trailer. She's completely off the grid. She live and showed that he was traveling there just a week after Michael's
His
disappearance.
whole photo
Kind of
roll.
huge.
Yep.
Yeah.
His whole photo roll. My house was in that. My dog.
Talk to this person that you were spoken to. So this is a hearsay thing, but you had a conversation with somebody that told you Stacy said that Sarah came in the house with Michael on her hip. And I want to hear more
Actually,
about that.
I'm actually what it was is it was somebody else that I cannot name. He is
Right.
a new person in the case as a witness.
A new person who is a witness in the case. All right. So this is allegedly what's going to help convict, right? If this is evidence and it's true, she's about to tell you. Chris, she knows a lot about YouTube, but didn't know who Stacy was. Right.
Witness.
Right.
He had told me. Okay, let's back up a little bit. While Stacy was here, he had Ubers and all this other stuff, all kinds of people picking him up, taking him places. Turns out, I'm trying to phrase this to where it won't. Okay, just a new witness came forward, and it was told to me, and I convinced this person to go to Fruitland, get a hold of the detective. I gave him the number. He took somebody with him because he was scared, absolutely terrified of Stacy. And the information that I was told by this person was that he was at Stacy's home.
Hearsay. Okay.
And he's hanging out with Stacy, and Sarah came in with a child that this person believes was Michael. Stacy says, "What are you going to do with that?" And she says, "We need money, right?" And that's all I know of it. I don't know anything else of that part.
What? What? Somebody else who was scared of Stacy was at the house and heard this go down. That Sarah walks in with cameras on the front of the door and the whole neighborhood, okay, has CCTV footage and walks in with Michael on her hip and says, "We need money, right?" After Stacy says, "What are we going to do with that?" Okay, I'm glad that that was reported. I hope they reported it. I really do. Maybe there are logs that will prove that there was information that came forward, maybe, potentially. That is a wild ass story. And why did they all of a sudden come and tell you this when they knew they could have just gone to police? Why you? Who told you that? I smell foul.
That's what was told to me by a person, that the person that was there. And then that person went to Fruitland and
Oh,
talked
so
to Ellie.
it's double hearsay. It's about somebody that heard it from that person. Got it.
That's just crazy. That's just totally insane. And I'm glad you were able to get this person to go talk to law enforcement, because that's just huge,
This is
huge
content on Michael's case. They said so many horrible things about my content that were actual words from the mother of Michael Vaughan, and sometimes the father, and conversations that are crucial. Some of them were crucial, right? That weren't allegedly known. Maybe to law enforcement, perhaps, maybe. And I just talked about that. I talked about it. This is crazy. I never asked anybody to come harm anyone. I never wanted anyone to set them up, put cameras in and record and send texts and hack their phones and hack their emails, which is a fact. Good God. I kind of look like a saint right now compared to this little bit of shit that's going down and has gone down.
I just remember that being talked about, and I was floored. I couldn't even. I mean, my brain, right now, even talking about it, I'm just like,
Well,
wow.
let me touch real quick on how all this got started. The day after, I thought it was like 4
Here we
hours, but I
go.
had to go back and look at Dolly's interview, and I'm like, oh, that was the day after I threw him out. I did Dolly's interview, and a week later, a creator got a hold of me.
Here we go. This is the money shot that I've been waiting to show and kind of go through. Okay, this is the big potato. A creator, after kicking Stacy out of her house, a creator contacts her and says, I got a deal for you. I've got some snake oil to sell ya. We're gonna get this guy. We're gonna get him. Listen to what she says.
This creator asked me if I wouldn't mind becoming Stacy's friend, and I felt sick to my stomach. I literally, I wanted to go on the bathroom.
Brooksy, did you do that? Or did someone you know do that? That likes to record people and says I don't? Yeah. Who else does Brooks like? Oh, well, maybe it's, let's pull it up here. Since the mother is following this lady on Facebook, who has a new Facebook, a new social medias, I guess it's important now to be involved in the social medias. Right? Who is following this lady? I wonder. Let's look. Who is following? Who is friends? That would be a creator that would exploit this. Creator specifically, not that's who I'm speaking on. Let's see. Gonna look. Aha. Don't go to this woman's Facebook page. I'm not going to put her Facebook page on blast. Don't. Just don't do that. Oh my word. The troublemaker of the group who goes offline for a while and does all these things and then complains about how it failed his efforts. Ouch. And then there's obviously Brandy. So she obviously knows of this woman, is in contact, I'm sure, which is fine. But we obviously know who else is too. Oh, Brooks for sure. But also that one right there. Yeah. Figures. Why isn't police doing these things? I do remember Brandy saying, why is police protecting these criminals? And I don't know if it was just because of lack of prosecution in her mind. It doesn't matter. I'm not in her mind. But I remember her saying that. Is this just the step that she feels she needs to take to get some answers? I don't know. I understand that logic, but yeah. And there's a few others that are following this woman with her new social media Facebook page that are not creators, but they're dirty workers for the creators that have been mentioned. Shame on you guys. Shame on you guys. This is ridiculous. There is no such thing as good intentions in this. This is content.
Bathroom and poop. And I thought about it, talking to this person, and I did. And I sent you the phone call. Now, mind you, This creator and Fruitland set my phone up and everything with everything I needed for every meeting, every conversation, everything that I needed to get on Stacy.
Who
So
hurt
I didn't do
Fruitland?
anything.
Who set you up with everything you needed on your phone? You're an informant now? Okay. Kelly is saying she's an informant for Fruitland PD with the help of a creator on YouTube. When they didn't know anything about it. Well, at least one person in the group of Fruitland PD was confused. Huh.
Thing illegal. I didn't do anything that didn't get turned in. Everything was turned into Fruitland, and
Was it the
it brought a
PI?
lot of new evidence, things that he said, like
Was it the PI? Maybe. Methinks so.
when he told, all right, I'm not gonna say that part. So this creator and I worked together for the last 10 months.
10 months as an informant. 10 months. I hope the benefits of this are fruitful for Michael. Do you think that it has done anything in 10 months? I haven't seen anything yet. We'll see.
I'm not gonna say who it is because there's other things
No,
going on.
we don't need to know who it is.
Right.
I mean,
Girl, you know who it is because you're behind it. You know exactly who it is. You're involved in it. Don't act like you don't know. Stop the cap.
I know that you know, the whole situation and stuff, and we don't even have to go there. I'm just really glad that you've been able to help Michael's case and turn stuff in, and I'm really, you know, I'm excited to do another live with you soon because we've talked about that too, and just share things that we know that you're able to share with everybody.
all
Yeah,
the evidence that I gathered, every single thing that I gathered is what put him back in prison. Admitting to me, you know, on the phone, calling me up, telling me I got high last night. You know, oh,
Right.
what about your PO? Oh, I don't test for another week. Oh
Oh
no,
yeah, while we're mentioning
he tested the next day,
that,
thanks to me.
yeah, let's
I mean, don't do that, right? Like, that's on him. But also, what a fucking shitty person. But I mean, she has every right to do that, and you're supposed to do that. But on the same level, the reasons for why you did that was shitty.
So he is dating this girl, Brady. She's dating Stacy for a few weeks. They live together in a van that Stacy has. They're doing drugs together. They're hanging out in a hotel room with other friends and everything else. And this
Right, Miss Raybuck, right?
is the girl that he's actually doing drugs with right before he has to go take a pee test for his parole officer.
And
Exactly
he
what you're
has
talking about.
and he has no idea that I have a hidden camera and recording everything. He had no idea. So him telling me,
Surveillance? Dang, girl. They had a hidden camera and everything. What are the laws in Idaho for that? I mean, I don't think there are. I think you could pretty much do that, but I don't know. There are one party. You have to have a consent of at least one party. It's a felony to intentionally disclose the contents of any communication. Oh, well, one party has given prior consent, but I don't know how that works there. One person has to know about being recorded, I guess, with them. I don't know. It says Idaho law prohibits the interception, disclosure, or recording of wire, electronic, or oral communications without the consent of at least one party. And because they are one party, that maybe that they get away with it. Illegally recording, intercepting, or disclosing oral, wire, or electronic communications. Maybe there's an exception. I think there is. I just can't remember what it is. Or it could be completely legal. Anyway, I don't know. But that's wild. That's wild. To be set up like that.
I got high. We got high last night on meth and blah blah blah. Boom! That went straight to LE and straight to his PO.
So
Miss Rebecca says, I believe you have to notify the party you are recording them unless it's in the public. Maybe. Yeah, if somebody has to agree to it, you would have to have knowledge that it exists to not have it. I don't know. It's a good question.
this is Brady, and that was them sitting on your couch at your house.
Who is?
And Wireless buys tens I.
Now this bitch is crazy. Danny is fucking nuts. And that's all I'll say. That's all that needs to be said. They are not wrong on this one 100%. It's a friend of Stacy's that but why are they blasting this woman? What did she ever do but befriend Stacy Wondra? I mean, I don't get it. Why are they blasting her? Did she do something wrong? What did she do? But besides be visited by police and Stacy Wondra, eventually. Like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? I don't get it.
iPhones, buys iPads.
But this isn't new. This isn't new behavior from this group of people. They just added this Samantha chick from PNW because they need more help. This is fucking crazy. And it's looking suspicious. It's looking more and more suspicious that this is allowed.
Don't really, you said you didn't know how many iPads he had. And then
Mom pays. You can see in that picture, my one black and white standard poodle was always, wanting to cuddle. Okay, I need to go switch dogs.
Hi, buddy.
I want to I'll throw up a video real quick.
Okay, so we're going to just stop here because I think it's interesting to look at what they're about to go live for, the recordings. But basically, she sent them and the police everything about these recordings. If you're working with Fruitland, they're going to tell you not to fucking send it to anybody else, so I don't believe you. They don't know who you are. Or they do now, but I don't understand this. This is weird. This is dangerous. I don't understand it. And I don't give a fuck if I get backlash for it, for my opinion on it, because it's wrong. It's wrong. And I'm not wrong for saying that. It's very clear that this is weird and a little extra. So go use this creator to get information to put on your platform. Is that what I'm seeing? Crime lines and lies? You're garbage, girl. You're garbage. Poo-poo on you. So they're about to do a live with this shit, exposing these recordings. So we'll see how it goes. And this live that we just watched, by the way, just to keep this in your mind, the recordings have Stacy saying he didn't do anything, he didn't have any knowledge, but off the record, not on the recordings, all of a sudden he is admitting to things or slipping up. Damn the luck. Well, maybe there's something that they are going to offer. I can't wait. So I'm doing you a favor, Missing. I'm sending people over to you verbally to go watch this. I don't think that it's wise to slander someone about it based on what you hear. Don't do that. But it's going to happen anyway, so I want you to kind of observe and see what you think. Then we're going to go live about that another day. Michael Vaughan deserves better than this, and I can't believe that we're doing this again where we have to listen to atrocious, nasty recordings and behavior to be exploited on the back of Michael Vaughan. It's disgusting. I don't like it. I just don't like it. And I'm calling that out. Thank you so much for being here, guys. If there's any updates that I can tell you about, I obviously will. Can't wait to see you on some other lives that are not as dramatic. There's some stuff that I want to go over in regards to the Lady Bird Lake drownings going to be working with Val Evans, the forensic astrologer, on those things. So stay tuned for that. But I'm going to get off of here. Go watch that if you dare. And I will see you on the next live. Bye, everybody. Be safe.
Thank you. For being with me while doing live streams. It means a lot to me. You are appreciated. See you on next live. Take care and spend your energy wisely. See you on next live. Take care and spend your energy wisely.